Good evening, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Barnett-Lawton, and I am the Pillar President for Education at the British Beauty Council. And I'm very excited to have this live demo with Jack Oliver and Elliott Banks. Following on nicely, yes. So I'm going to be talking to them about the concept of what they're doing, and this is really the opportunity to watch up close their makeup application techniques and talk to them about where they get their ideas from. And I'm going to also be allow you to ask some questions, so I'll be able to walk around and ask you so we can engage a bit with them, which will be really fun. So what's the concept behind your look, Jack?
So thinking of like the future of where we're going in our makeup world and how almost plastic surgery can come into play with it, and nips and tucks and strings and pulls and plumps. So I wanted to kind of play on that aspect and have my Fallon in a very surgical look. So I'm going to take it into a very surgical side of things in the future of what makeup could become for us.
Great. And Elliott, how about your look? What's the concept behind it?
So I was more looking at, if anyone's seen Blue Planet, you can kind of see fish like in the bottom of the ocean and how they use lights to communicate. So I'm kind of inspired by that idea in terms of future and
The undiscovered ocean.
Yeah, pretty
the
much.
Depths of the sea that we haven't been to. And I think it's a fact that we know less about the depths of the sea than we do about out of space. So perhaps in the future we might know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I find as well in fashion as well, when we go through certain stages, we kind of flip and do the opposite of things. So I'm noticing that makeup right now is very like pinpoint, it's very precise, and it's very like angular. So today I'm going to be doing like the opposite of that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting exploration. And just to say that feel free, if you do want to use your phones to record any of this. Everyone's been so polite and lovely today, but really it's okay, and I'm sure everyone's okay if you tag them as well. I think it's Banks Elliott and Jack Oliver X if you want to follow them on Instagram. What a question. Yeah.
What are your go-to products, especially for these kind of out there, quite exciting looks?
Oh, go-to product. I'd probably say things like if you're wanting a bright colour, you want something a little bit there, we've got Depixum. We love a Depixum. We've got some queens up here that love it too. Depixum for bright colours, really creamy. You can blend it into the skin, the eyes, the lips. You can make it into a mascara, anything like that. And then also I've got a little bit of a Janessa Marix. I know that we both love something quite neon, quite bright, really fun for liners, graphics, and also like mixing. So I've just mixed these two together to create like a kind of hazardous yellow that I'm going to push over the eye. But go-tos, I'd always say we've got some good mixing mediums, some things like MAC mixing medium. They're great for just trying out playing with different things and kind of being able to mix it with a lipstick or a cream or a powder to kind of take it into another level and be able to use it in a different way.
Thanks.
And for me as well, I definitely like to answer what Jack's saying. I definitely find a multi-purpose product is like so handy for your kit. I love the Janessa Myrix colour fixes just because they're really long wearing. They don't crease as well if you want to put a gloss over them, so they're great for lips, eyes. I mean, you can even buff them out to get a blush or even brows. I'm going to use some of those today as well, actually, on Gigi's eyelids. I'm going to go for like a nice taupey colour. When I was thinking about colours for this look, I actually got a picture of Gigi, she doesn't know this, surprise, and took certain colours of her complexion, and I'm just going to be exaggerating those. So I've used some colours around her eyes and I'm going to blow those out into an eye, and the same for the lip as well, because I find that colours can be quite telling of like time periods, if that makes sense. So I want something that is quite timeless, that is reflective of, I don't know, it's quite a weird look, but I want it to age well if I look back on it.
Forever aging.
What made you pick the yellow, Jack?
So the yellow is actually like the hazardous bins from a hazardous bin waste. So something that we
Toxic.
yeah, we're so consuming, and we love, product, and we love to waste things as well. So I kind of thought of the bins, and I've been working in the care home too, and I've seen a lot of these hazard bins around, and I kind of loved that fluorescent yellow of like a kind of an awkward, sickly yellow. And I thought for something that was quite clinical in an image, I wanted to really play on that on the eye, and then be able to take it a little bit more graphical in the end as well. So the yellow is one of those ugly, hazardous yellow bins that we love.
And you've mixed two colours to get that shade, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've mixed like a kind of more neutral yellow and then like a fluorescent, just to kind of be able to balance it out a little bit more and bring that vibrancy to the eye, but without it being too flat as well. I want it to still look like there's a bit of movement in the skin.
Come and see what Elliott's doing.
Just a little bit of complexion. So, prior to the masterclass, I've just adhered some prosthetics to her cheeks, just to kind of go along with this idea of enhancing beauty, but in a kind of different way. I always find it fascinating, like if you look through history, you find that beauty standards and stuff like that, they're so different. Like in the Elizabethan times, they would pluck the hairlines back and you'd shave the eyebrows off and stuff like that to give the illusion of like a big forehead. So I kind of am playing along with that idea as well. I blocked Gigi's brows out, so I'll cover those as well.
Is this a kind of extreme filler look?
Kind of. It's more so like how we'll develop throughout the ages. But yeah, it definitely does look a little bit like some displaced filler. But I kind of love it. It mimics Gigi's brow.
Sorry, I have so many questions. It's just too exciting. So when using prosthetics, where's good to buy these, and also how do you tend to use them? Because I know when I was studying, I always struggled to know the best ways to use prosthetics. What would you recommend, like, to use and how?
Definitely, patience is like the key, and there's it's one of those things. If you do make a mistake early on, it will come back and bite you in the behind. So always make sure your glue's fully dried, make sure it's clear, don't blow on it, wave it, because the spit will mix with the glue. I know that's kind of gross. Stem off into that. But yeah, definitely take your time. Also, a good, always make sure it's silicone, which is really good. That melts into the skin pretty nicely, opposed to like a foam prosthetic. And make sure the edges are nice and thin as well. You do really get what you pay for in terms of prosthetics. There's some really great ones on Etsy. There's loads of like small artists who are making them.
Did you say on Etsy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like even better than, because I've Googled and I've been like, oh, I want this. But Etsy like is so good for like these kind of things.
Anybody
Shout out to
else?
Etsy. Not sponsored. You can though if you're here.
Medusa.
Yeah, it's
Medusa.
Wanted FX
Yeah.
Medusa.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll post it on Insta if you guys want to follow me.
Yeah.
There we go, she's looking nice and even.
You did a bit of prep before you came on stage, didn't you? So maybe Jack, can you just talk us through sort of what you did with the base?
So before we came on, I actually prepped the skin. I actually used some alcohol, and she has a lovely surprise under here, which is great. And then I went ahead and prepped the skin with some Weleda, some nice intense moisturizer, and really kind of massaged that through the skin just to make sure that everything's feeling plump. And then also went in with like foundations, complexions, color correctors. So I used a really good foundation from Ilamasca, which is one of my favorites, called Beyond. It's quite light. And then I mixed it with a bit of skin base, which is a little bit thicker, but to lighten it up. So I wanted to kind of wash out that complexion, not necessarily have too much color, but to kind of push through and make sure that there wasn't too much showing in. There is a small amount of contour just on the cheek as well, just to kind of exaggerate the push of this, just to kind of create that kind of bulbousy effect, that the cheeks are a little bit more bulbous and a bit more kind of plumped up. But other than that, just a little bit of lip balm, brushed through the brows, just to get everything looking nice and smooth and clean. And then now going in with the colour.
Can I ask what the contour powder is?
The contour is Anastasia. So Anastasia's cream sticks in fawn, and then also Anastasia's powder, the contour palette.
And Elliott, how about you? What sort of base are you using there?
So I'm just using a combination of cream sticks that I've kind of mixed together. I prefer certain finishes of certain things, but I need more coverage in other things. So I kind of just go back and mix on my palette, kind of work out what kind of skin tone we're at, and then kind of go from there. So it is like a mixture of like Krylon, and then I have some like Highland in there as well, just because it gives like a better, it has a bit more movement to it. I feel like Krylon is great for coverage, but I like the mixture of the two. And then I'm going to go with some ABH fawn as well, just like this thing over there.
I feel like we both definitely developed our products as well, because we create so much together. I feel like we kind of swip and swap a lot of our products that we kind of love and use. So something that Elliott might find, I feel like I love it, and then there'll be something that I'll find that Elliott loves, and we can kind of play around together by creating something.
Oh yeah, we definitely bounce off of each other in terms of ideas and products.
Can you tell me how you met? Was it on Glow Up?
It wasn't. We met on the bus.
Don't even tell me.
Very glamorous. We both went to the same college together. I was doing fashion and Jack was doing makeup. And obviously I thought makeup was a bit more interesting, so I kind of came for her gig just to look.
Which
But-
college?
Huh?
Cambridge
Which college?
Regional.
Oh, Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah, I was the lonesome one that would sit on the bus by myself.
And then I was like, she is a moment. Sit next to her. She's got bright
Long
pink
hair,
hair, long
yeah.
nails. I was like, give me some of that. Because we moved to like a small town. I was living in Watford before, and me and my mum, we moved up to Cambridge to like this small town. So I was like aching for a bit of queerness in my life.
True though.
Yeah.
I think we both needed to find someone that was a bit more fun than the
Yeah.
generics that we had around here.
And Born This Way came out. So I was just like, let me get into that. Okay, cute.
So did you apply together?
For the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
The
did.
glow up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I applied at work. I had like a little lunch break, and I did like a little quick application. It was like 5 minutes, and I think it was a few weeks later that you'd actually said that you'd applied, and it was kind of like, oh, we've both done it.
We were like,
Then
we
both
can't
got
have
it.
nothing.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
definitely.
mean?
You can't like. Either one of us we got to share it. We got
Yeah.
some of it.
Sharon's caring.
And then yeah, I got the call, and then literally they were like, yeah, well, we know that you know Elliott, so don't tell anything, don't talk about it with them. And then all of a sudden it was like, we both had the call and we both told each other. You can't exactly not, like.
I was like, who have you been on the phone to? Have you been on the phone to someone called like? Was it Kate?
Yeah, Kate.
Yeah, Kate.
Kate that called us.
I was like, I've just made a friend called Kate. What about you? And he was like, oh, I made a friend like Kate as well.
Don't know anyone.
So that's interesting. Go on holiday during the pandemic. Film a little TV show. Okay, love that. But yeah, it was nice to have us both together for that experience, because it was, I think filming is so intense, especially when you are in a lockdown environment, to go into like cameras and doing so much. It was so nice to like have us both there together to like
Yeah.
kind of,
So were you all in a bubble together then?
yeah.
We had to be separate for a week prior, just to kind of make sure that everyone was okay and isolate for a week.
Yeah.
And then we got moved into a house together, which our lovely Nick in the front row was there as well. And we all had a little fun time and made some great friends as well, which was nice. And being able to kind of have each other was nice, to have that support as well, to kind of get through those long days.
It was so intense as well, like emotionally, I think, because all of us were like obviously lockdown and everyone had like had issues with like their jobs or work, because obviously beauty was closed completely, which set us all back as makeup artists. So I think all of us like being in that house together, it was such like a heightened emotional experience as well. Just because we had like so much to what's the word? We had so much to talk about. Okay.
We've got some precision eyeliner going on here, Jack.
Yeah, I've gone for a like a really subtle kind of blue, but still quite vibrant. It's actually very similar to like the nurses' outfits in surgical. Once again, taking inspiration from kind of where I've been the past year and a half, and being able to have that inspiration from like uniforms and seeing nurses and the surgical bins, and kind of being able to play against that, but still create something that was a little bit more fun. So I've gone for like a sharp graphic line, which is very much what I enjoy doing. Something that I love to play around with in my own personal styles, and then also what I translate into my work as well, which is great. But yeah, I wanted to kind of show off those colours. Something quite sickly, but you know, also quite fun and quite bold and colourful, because I do love to be colourful.
A question over here.
So I'm just going in with said ABH contour.
What do you think is the key things that you took away from being on the show, not just personally, but from your career perspective? And has it helped you from that time? I know it's been a weird time since the show came out.
I think the show's taught us as well, just to kind of, I think you just have to kind of be you on the show and enjoy what you're doing, and no matter what kind of critique that you get from the show, and kind of, you know, however the audience perceive you or the judges perceive you as well, you have to just kind of stay true to yourself and love what you're doing and love makeup and just have fun with it. And then taking away from the show as well is just being able to kind of, you know, enjoy what you're doing, know that you have people out there that support you and kind of have that backup behind you as well, and love what you do. You know, it could be a small or a large scale, it doesn't matter, as long as you're showing what you like to create. And I think that's what makeup means to a lot of people, you know, is just being creative and showing what you can do, and kind of enjoying all aspects of makeup, and being able to talk about it and just try and play, and maybe someone will pick up a tip or a trick. You know, that's why we like it, it's why we do it. And I think that's the kind of most fun thing about it, is that, you know, we're able to now show people on a larger scale that we do love what we do, and we have such a big passion for it at the same time, and hopefully inspire somebody else to then pick up a brush and get creative and have fun. Thank you, Attorney.
Don't be shy, feel free if you want to ask a question. Brushes or fingers? You like brushes better? Ever use fingers? Sponges? No?
I think after the pandemic, I'm straying away from fingers at the moment.
Yeah.
Model sees you coming at her like that, she's like, absolutely not. I do love, it depends on what you're kind of doing. Shall I demonstrate some finger work?
Is that what I do?
That sounds
I do,
awful,
yeah, I think
doesn't it?
it's so dependent, isn't it, on like what you're kind of doing in makeup, and what moment of part you are. Because sometimes I like to go in my hands with like a moisturizer, you know, I like to really get in there and massage it into the skin and feel the bones, and you can start to kind of see the structure that you're going to then take forward into like contouring and such. But then brushes, we do love some brushes. I am a big fan of brushes, so
Yeah,
I don't think I could go without.
Question over here.
What would you say is your signature look that if you had 15 minutes where you had to go out, it would be your fail-safe?
For myself, like personal makeup?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a colour on the eye. Like wrap a colour around the eye, I feel like even on the show when we were waking up at like stupid o'clock in the morning and it was just like throw on a colour on the eye, get some skin going, and just kind of, you know, at least have something that's vibrant and fun. I always just like to have like one colour wrapped around, and then even like a graphic liner very similar to what I like to play with. Or I feel like I have a lot of like facial tattooing, so I feel like if I go out with nothing, it's fine. I've got a bit of something going on that everyone can look at. Eh?
She's got something to add.
Yeah. We do love a black kohl pencil. I don't think I could live without one of those as well, just to rub it in and let it go, let it move, do what it needs to do.
And for me, I quite like asymmetrical. I quite like imperfect makeup. I think it's quite. I mean, not for me, but like I think there's quite something like sexy about like a worn-in eye.
Oh yeah.
Personally,
It just
not that I can pull it off, but hey ho. But yeah, I do love like a good little wonky moment. If I'm in a rush, I'll just throw on a liquid liner, and you know, it doesn't have to be perfect because I kind of like it like that. I mean, faces aren't completely symmetrical. Quite like makeup that's like organic as well.
How important do you think your own identity, that your sort of look is to your identity as a makeup artist?
I don't think I could not have like a bold image. I feel like that's what gives me my comfort in the world of like beauty as well. And I think having that for myself is like a big part of my expression and like where I stand and who I am and what I stand for as well. You know, I like to be quite out there and in your face because it's like, well, you can either have it or don't. Do you know what I mean? Like take it or leave it kind of thing. And I think that's where like growing up and living in like a really small space, or like a small village, small town, I've kind of had that, you know, that big strong element of like having to stand out from the crowd to be able to kind of get where I needed to get to. And like it made me meet one of the closest people in my life, you know what I mean? Like being out there and like a bit more
So cute.
being a bit more like out there and a bit more extreme. Do you know what I mean? Like it kind of gravitates towards people, and then people will either, if they want to speak to you, they'll speak to you. Do you know what I mean? So then you can be able to kind of break that boundary of anxiety and like just go for it. Go for it. You know, why not?
I think makeup is such like an expressive thing as well. I like firmly believe that we don't really have a lot of control over what we look like. We're born and you're kind of just handed what's given to you, but with makeup there's so much like you can really create exactly what you want, and it kind of gives you control over how you're perceived. Or I mean, I like go all over the place with how I look. I'll be looking one thing one day and look something else the other day, and it's so interesting to see how people perceive you when you do look a certain way. I mean, me and Jack have known each other for like coming up to 11 years, and it's like we've had all different colour types of hair, and then sometimes I don't have any hair at all and a beard. But and people were just like, it's crazy how people view you when depending on how you look.
So it's a personal journey, but it's also about your personal brand, isn't it? The way that you present yourself. It certainly helps, Jack, that your hair is green at the moment, so you're quite easy to recognise. Also in the show, you can fast forward to the bits that you're in it if you want.
Oh, absolutely. You're not gonna miss me. I feel like that's a big part of like I've always had the green hair's been around for a long time now. It's been something that's been kind of a big staple part of what I love, and I love that it's such an organic colour that I can kind of change it up for different shades and be able to play with the shade of the green, but it just makes me feel like me. It's like a comfort of where I like to be with the hair. I feel like I've been pink, I've been blue, I've been purple, you know, they never felt right. I feel like the green was just something that felt so right for me. So yeah, it's kind of stuck, and obviously being on the show, that's a big pinnacle moment. I can't walk down the street and someone's like, oh look. I mean, it's like, it's quite noticeable. But you know, it's nice, and it's somewhere that I feel safe in it, and I couldn't imagine not having it. I mean, I couldn't imagine not being in that kind of realm of beauty, makeup, hair, bright colours. And it's where I feel comfortable.
What inspired the green hair?
The green was just something that kind of came naturally, and once again, like natural colouring, something that was easy, and I wanted to pick something that would be no one really liked it when I first picked it. I felt like green was one of those things that I know one really had it, and it was just like, oh, I'll try green because no one's got green hair. And now it's like, you've got the celebrities that like a bit of green hair now, and I feel like it's kind of a bit more approachable as a colour. But I haven't been able to let it go. I don't think I could imagine myself without it.
And presumably you've been doing that yourself because you maintained it all through the show and all through lockdown.
Absolutely. With the loving directions that I absolutely adore. I don't think I could live without them. I'm forever mixing it in with my conditioner, my shampoo, and being able to play with it and colour it. I've forever dyed my hands green and all such things. But yeah, it's a big love of mine.
Kind of brings me on to where does makeup sort of stop and begin? Because we're sort of focusing on the face mainly, but actually makeup can sort of, when people do sort of makeup design charts and they miss the head, it's like you sort of actually need to think about how your makeup's going to sit on a whole head and the neck and the shoulders, and think about the body as well. So do you ever sort of do your sort of plans and think, I'm going to extend it down the neck or the arms?
Yes and no, yeah. I feel like that's something we both kind of like to play into in that aspect.
I mean, I like a fully realised vision. I obviously come from a fashion background. I do photography, videographer, whatever you want to call it. I kind of like, as I've like developed my makeup style, I've definitely seen it like stem into more avenues. I think as well as we go on with technology, it's like, I think it's just like makeup has turned into like filters, and I think makeup even in 100 years or so might even die out, and you might not become a makeup artist anymore. You might be like a makeup designer for like a filter or like Photoshop or like CGI. Do you know what I mean?
Completely. Is anyone here a makeup student? It's one of the things that's I'm always learning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, forever learning.
Yes, digital beauty and creating looks, solely on apps is becoming a thing, and with K-pop and a lot of the videos are made, aren't they? And they're sort of digital creations. And there's a slight crossover here with the idea of the prosthetics to that kind of digital fantasy.
Yeah, definitely.
Idea of beauty going beyond the human.
I mean, I think as ideas go, there's so many more things you can do from with like CGI. You can definitely take your vision to like a completely other level. But to be fair, I do like a good old-fashioned makeup. I don't want to like drag any movies, but I feel like sometimes CGI can get a little bit lost. And when you look back at some movies, like, I don't want to drag anyone, but like, you know what I mean. We've all seen a movie a couple of years ago, and you're like, oh, the makeup could have been so iconic if it was real makeup, but they did CGI instead.
Now I'm wondering what that movie is.
I'll tell you later in the group.
Okay. Question?
Who are your inspirations today in terms of the makeup world?
As in other artists? I think we've both had such a love for like Alex Box.
Oh, girl.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, they forever create everything, and I feel like it doesn't, once again, taking that kind of aspect of the real and the fantasy and the CGI, they can kind of take that world out and kind of take it into another level of like, it could be really raw makeup, really beautiful, and then really out there and abstract, but then at the same time, be able to create something CGI. I know that recently on their social medias, they've created a CGI character, but I had to stare at it for about 20 minutes before I even realised it wasn't real. I mean, it's that you can, there's such an artist that can kind of take it above and beyond. And I think that's someone that I definitely looked up to, and I know that Elliott has as well, because they're incredible as an artist. They're just so unique and so inspiring in so many levels, and just the way of presence as well, their personal life and having children and still being able to work. And there's so many parts of it that just shows that you can live your life, still be creative, still be fun, and take the everyday, noose of life and just live and be happy. And there's so many artists out there at the moment as well. And I think, having social media is such a great place to be able to be inspired and keep kind of seeing things and keep going and know that you can kind of have fun. And there is no boundary with it these days as well, which is great.
I think it's good to stand out as well. The makeup industry is so saturated. There's so many people, so it's nice to put your own stamp on where you're coming from in terms of nice. And that's always going to make you stand out. I think it's good to be different, even if like people don't always agree. I think it's always good to still be the different mind in the room.
In terms of sort of evolution of what we think beauty is, how we perceive beauty, how do you think that things might change over the next sort of 10, 20 years?
We've seen makeup change so many times, but also do a full circle. Also kind of take from the past and bring it to the present and take it onto another level. You know, there's so many things that can be used from 20 years ago that are used now. It's kind of like contour happened, but contour was around, way back when. But it just got redeveloped in a whole different way, and it's kind of repurposed and then reformulated. So I feel like that's where makeup will go. And also that's kind of where my image wanted to come from as well, to be able to show that we see so much like of the surgical side of things, that I wanted it to kind of have that weird clinical aspect of, we can have so many different aspects of like filler or the snatching of the face. But I still see that as something that's quite beautiful, because it's something that we're developing, and that's what is changing from the past to the present. And then in the next 10, 20 years, will that carry on? Will we take it to another level of extreme? Will we be able to do things like Elliott's doing and have, these kind of different formulations? And I talked a lot on the show as well about on Glow Up about body modifications, which is a big part of my personal life, and permanent ink, permanent makeup, which is like tattooing, and being able to change yourself and stretch your ears and pierce yourself, and that's an extension of makeup and beauty in my eyes, and I think that's a quite a beautiful thing. And I think that in the next 20 years we could maybe take that to a whole nother extreme, a whole nother level, and maybe not see it as something so scary. I feel like a lot of the times, if someone was to walk down the street looking like Gigi right now, there would be a lot of glares. But maybe in 20 years' time, we'll all look like those characters that we love, or something that we've always admired to be or felt comfortable in. So it would be a whole nother characteristic of like a human life.
I was reading something the other day, and it was talking about self-love, and it was like, if you were on an island by yourself, would you be doing these things to adhere to beauty standards? Like, you wouldn't be going and get your like lips done. Like, do you really want to do that, or like, do you really want to do this? It's like, it's interesting to think about.
How far do you want to take yourself, and how much do you want to do to your body to then maybe have a change in 20 years' time? Like we were saying earlier, of like, there was the fashion of plucking your eyebrows and taking them all away.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any eyebrows, but I love it. But and then there's the trends of like having big, fluffy, bushed up brows, and I was very jealous. I was seeing all these people on Instagram brushing up their brows, and I thought, that's a shame. But at the same time, it's just a trend, and do you need to adhere to it? Do you need to follow it? And kind of taking that aspect of your personal life and what you want. I think everyone's on their own journey, and I think that's what Elliott was saying is, you just have to kind of find yourself and your true identity, and be able to explore and just have fun with it with no boundary.
Anyone want to ask any more questions? We've got one here.
How has sort of Glow Up affected your life and your career? Like, what's happened for you since Glow Up ended? I mean,
thank you. Yeah, I think we've been able to do a little bit more. We've had that little bit more of an audience around us, which is great, and have fun with it, and be able to work with friends and people that you love, and be able to kind of create these little groups and be able to do some fun things. Myself, Elliott, and Nick actually did a wedding recently, which was like huge deal, really big wedding, lots and lots of people. We had to get them all ready by like midday, and it was like a faff. Yes. And oh my god, love you, Lauren, and Lauren as well. And it was really nice to be able to do that. And it was kind of one of those things that it was just because someone had seen us on the show and reached out and was like, my makeup artist is cancelled. I need someone last minute. Can you do it? Yeah, of course. Like, let's get together a little team and just like have fun and go out there and just like do it as well. So I think there's an audience from like the public side, And then there's the audience of like the career aspect as well, which kind of like changes, it comes and goes. But I think, you know, as long as we're having fun and we're enjoying what we're doing, it's nice to have that audience and have people that are enjoying what we're doing as well.
You've made some new friends on Instagram as well, haven't you?
Yes.
Pat McGrath liking your work, and actually, your both of your work has sort of evolved even since the show.
Yeah, I think we've taken a little step. I feel like we've both taken a step of just like confidence as well, of just like just enjoy it. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're having fun, and me and Elliott working together, I think is quite fun as well. Being our little squishy faces that we do together, and kind of doing something a little bit kind of like wild, but people seem to really enjoy them, and I think that's what's fun, that me and Elliott both enjoy doing them as well.
I think what's nice about those photos as well is that because everyone's been socially distancing for so long, to show like two people have an embrace, I think there's like quite a nice meaning to that.
Yeah.
Also, it just shows our closeness as a friendship.
As a creative little.
I'm trying to think of the word. I was just going to say couple, and I was like, that's not the route I'm going to go down.
Have you found any downsides to being more in the public eye, both from the social media side of things, or have you had generally positive experiences on social media with the fact that you are both men in beauty, which is again shouldn't be, but isn't perhaps as normal as women with makeup, and yeah, how have you coped with that?
I think personally I've probably had quite a good chunk of hatred to how I look and who I am, but it's okay to be like, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I think that's something me and Elliott was at that the other night, and we were like prepping for this and talking, and like I had like a storm of like stuff on my social media that was like really negative, and it's like one part of you wants to reply and just kind of like be like, oh, you know, like just tell them to do one, but then the other side is just like, well, an opinion's an opinion and whatever. But I've also noticed that there's like a big chunk of education in that as well. So with the hate comes the being able to take that 5 minutes to educate somebody that might not necessarily understand where we come from, even like both of us, and just like the direction of what we do. So it's nice to be able to kind of educate and see that from a different angle without it just being like a negative. But I think there's always going to be a huge chunk of negativity no matter what you're doing. Either someone's not going to like that you're in the public eye, that you're doing something that maybe they're afraid of doing, or also, you know, just being different. I think being different and being queer is like a big part of what people are afraid of, and even in this day and age, which is crazy to my own mind, but at the same time I think everyone should just be living as they are, and as long as they're not harming anybody, just like, well, that be it.
Yeah, I mean, you have one life, you might as well live it.
Exactly.
You can't follow anyone else's rules, you've got to do your own thing at the end of the day, because you're the person who you lay with at night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds really dark, doesn't it? Depressing. In a light-hearted way. With Netflix on. Let me take it there. Oh my lord.
I guess following on from that, as like two AMAB and binary people, when you say that you obviously go out in your looks as well, how do you navigate like being out in public, like microaggressions, and you know, obviously in danger and stuff when you're out in looks and stuff?
I think there's always got to be a little bit of wary. I think, you know, especially out in the public and out in the general public eye as well, you're always going to kind of be watching your back, that someone's not going to do something, or like, you know, say something negative or anything like that. But even if you do have the negative moment of like someone saying something, I kind of just tend to turn it into a joke. I think that's my anxieties that come through as well, that I'll just kind of be like, I'll like not say anything negative, but maybe use it as more of like a context of like a joke, and just kind of take it on another level, or even just take it on the shoulder. Obviously, over the years it can build up and it can kind of become stressful, especially if you're trying to do something that's, you know, even if you're working. I worked in Selfridges for a few years, and I'd even have people that were like more than happy to shouts and slurs at me from across the beauty hall. But you just kind of have to think I'm in a professional environment, and at least I'm working and looking good. So what else? You know, I think being non-binary and being queer and being out there and very bright, very colourful, I think that's just where we have to kind of just be us. And unfortunately, there's always going to be someone that's not going to like it. But as long as we're living and we're happy and we're going home and we're safe, it doesn't matter.
Both being gender non-conforming, how does makeup complement your expression, and what brands do you feel celebrate the community and you guys as non-binary artists?
I think Elamaska is definitely a big push for celebration. I mean, you kind of see it as queer people, you see Pride Month come along and you see a lot of companies jump on the bandwagon of including certain people, and it's nice that Elamaska are taking that and kind of continuing that and highlighting queer voices. I know they're still doing that with queer people, which is kind of nice. And then you kind of just have to look at like ethos. I mean, MAC have donated, I think I was looking at this the other day, they've donated $500 million to the HIV and AIDS fund, which is like crazy amount of money. So it's nice. I think as queer people, you should support the brands that have got your back. Yeah. I think that's so conscious as well in like today's world, that people are definitely like making sure that we're being looked after.
If you were told you could only use one makeup product for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One.
1 year supply of Absolutely Hell.
Absolutely.
Oh my. I mean, she's cute. You could use that for a lot of things. Danessa Myrick's Colour Fix, sponsored. It's not sponsored.
I was going to say a coal pencil, because I just...
Yeah. Anything cream,
I started with,
you can kind of get more out of that.
Be able to kind of play with it. I think pencils are great because you can like fill in the lips, fill in the eyes, fill in the brows, draw something fun. You know, that's kind of where I started from. One of the first products I picked up was like a black coal pencil. And it was just like, I'd fill in my lips with it, I'd draw my eyebrows on with it, I'd fill in my eyes. I mean, I'd draw spikes and kind of create different like illusions with it. So I feel like you could do a lot with one product, and I think we've got some great products out these days. Like you said, Danessa Myrick's being something that's like a colour fix. You can let it dry down and like have fun with it, put it on the lip, put it on the cheek, and then blend it out, buff it out. You know, it's quite nice that you can have a multi-use product, especially in your kit as well, which is so handy.
Yeah.
Elliott, what are you getting out of here?
I am getting some My Kitco, just little spoolies. Ooh. They're really, really thin, so you can really get in there and tidy everything up. I think My Kitco is really good for like small things. They have like really nice small brushes for like detailing.
And the silver piece.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk to me about that?
So I'm just using a face lace. I think as we grow with makeup, I think it's always, people want like an easy,
Quick add-on.
yeah, quick add-on to elevate your look.
Yeah, the face lace is sort of addition. It's sort of slightly that step beyond makeup, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like them. They add a movement to the makeup as well.
Yeah, you've got the sort of silver to catch the light.
Yeah.
Is that as it came from the pack, or?
Oh yeah, I've just taken that out. I think that resonates. I think it's the one that closely resonates with my makeup style, with this kind of like wobbly kind of moment. It's very inspired by Face Chair.
Got something glossy happening on this right eye.
My favourite, Extremely Wet by David Stoneman. It's actually like a prosthetic piece. It's what they use for, you know when you see those photos where it's like someone like getting out the pool? And it's like, well, how do they capture that? And it's like, wet. And it's like, well, actually, it's extremely wet. It's something like this, and it's like a glycerin-based product that's like super wet, but it doesn't move too much. It doesn't distort the makeup as much as you think it would. You could put it over the whole face, and it'd look like you've just kind of got out of the shower kind of thing. So it's one of my favorites. I like to use in the eye. I used to go out clubbing with it and wear it over like a black eye and kind of enjoy the fun of it being very glossy, very dewy, but at the same time quite a fun, distinctive look. And to use something that's not quite commercial. You know, it's one of those things that's like, you wouldn't see it in the high street. So it's quite nice to play with something that's a bit more out there.
So this is your toxic eye. And
Yeah.
where would you say the ugly can become beautiful?
I think using those kind of colours, so that kind of like yellow is something that's quite difficult to see in makeup as well. You know, this day and age, maybe not so much because you can play with colour quite a lot. But that kind of like sickly hazardous eye with that glossy feeling to it of when you're, you know, if you kind of think of like, oh, when you got the flu and you're like a bit sweaty, but kind of like, oh, you know, that sickly vibe of like something that's like,
Take
you know,
your COVID test.
not that, yeah, take your COVID test.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of weird, it's ugly, it's not quite pretty, but it's, you know, you can play with it on an aspect. When you have someone as beautiful as Fallon as well, it's quite fun to be able to play with something a bit more extreme.
Take your COVID test beauty.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's a kind of step on from the Victorian consumptive, not quite dead beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, that powdery aspect with the spot.
That's like flush that you get when you have fever.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweaty flush.
Sweaty flush. Love that.
And Elliott, how about you? Where does ugly become beautiful?
Oh, I think ugly is beautiful though. I think there's something so nice about like, I'm very inspired by like the human body, and I love like pigmentation. I love like rashes, bruises. Like I was like very much into science when I was growing up, and I was like fascinated by like the body would do certain things it does. I've always been fascinated by like the idea of like crying. I use crying quite a lot in my images because it's just like it's such a weird thing that we do as humans. So I'm very much like inspired of like kind of the things that we'd cover up usually in makeup. I think we should work with can make them beautiful. I mean, I was like bullied for like having freckles my whole life, and now you've got pens to stick it on, so it's just like it's really like one of those things.
There is an obsession for sort of concealing under the eyes, isn't there? And yet sometimes the dark is actually quite beautiful and should be left.
It was like a trend on TikTok, wasn't it? Like a couple of months ago, this whole like dark eye bag moment. I think as we come to makeup as well, like I feel like makeup and fashion is on like a 20-year or like a 40-year cycle where it kind of just like reinvents itself from the next generation. Like we're using a lot of blush, which is like very 80s. I mean, this whole under eye moment is very like noughties with like, I don't want to say Kate Moss. Is it Kate Moss? Probably the right one.
Nars did some of those kinds
Where it's just like very like sleepy and yeah, I definitely feel like it's on a 20-year cycle where like the next generation takes those ideas and kind of reinvents it.
Do you think that these kind of bold looks can be used at any age, or do you think there's a point where it's just too bold to go?
Do you want to wear it then?
Do you want some cheeks?
Let it happen.
Oh no.
I think when it comes of age, yeah, I feel like I'd love that. I feel like I'd love to just like, no matter how old I am, I feel like I'm gonna still love a bright coloured eye. You know, my 80-year-old nan, I put her in like clown makeup, like purple
like
clown
that.
makeup.
She can
But like, she loved it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, have fun with makeup and go for it and like we started dyeing our hair recently and like gone blue and like purple and like just be a bit more adventurous. I feel like come with age, like who can we just have fun and just kind of go for it and like enjoy it and just
Do what makes you feel comfortable.
like if you want to wear it, wear it.
Yeah,
I remember learning makeup and it was like don't put like a shimmer or a glimmer on like anyone over like 14, and I was like, what? Like why? Like if you want to wear it, like wear it and like rock it. As long as you're confident in it, then you're gonna have fun. Like it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Like I've been working on counter and like people come up and they're like, oh, I want to wear a red lipstick, but I'm just like I can't pull it off, and it's just like, well, if you want to wear it, just wear it. Who cares?
Just have that confidence, enjoy it, and like go for it.
I mean, I'll definitely wear this at the night time. Little moment.
Are there any tools or products you've had to make yourself because you can't find it or it's not available?
Oh, I definitely think that we like to, especially when we're like together as well, I feel like we definitely like mix things.
Mhm.
So I love like a mixing medium in the kit. Like if you're like, it's not going to quite work for me, you know, you can like scrape an eyeshadow or like mix a lipstick in with it, and you know, kind of having that multi-use of things of like, well, you shouldn't put a liquid lipstick on the eye. As long as it's eye safe and it's not got anything in it that's going to hurt you, like go for it and like have fun.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like we've definitely probably played with some products before where we've kind of like mixed our own, especially colours as well. Like even the Danessa Myrick we were playing the other day, and you were like, the reason you got both was like because you couldn't quite find that match, and you wanted to kind of mix them both. And you
Yeah,
wanted to
I
kind of
mean,
take
I
it
like
to another
mix
level. Yeah,
absolutely everything. I'm like, a little bit here, a little bit there.
a little bit there.
But I think like if you're just like starting out in makeup, I remember when I was like 18, 19 and I was like, my mum's here right now so she's not going to really appreciate it, but I used to like go and get like kitchen flour, like set my makeup with it. Yeah.
Talcum powder.
So it's just like, it's definitely, that's a good point actually. I remember I was listening to Pat McGrath, she was doing desert discs on
Desert Island Discs.
yeah, on Radio 1, and she was talking about how when she was growing up, because obviously the beauty industry has had a little moment where it hasn't been too inclusive in the past, but I know it's something that's being worked on, which it definitely does need to be. Pat would like experiment with like cocoa powder and like items her and her mum had in the kitchen. That's kind of where her love of makeup began. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend flour just from experience. It's not finely milled enough.
Just thinking about inclusivity in the hair and beauty sector, then, do you think how important do you think it is that we start to look at how we, label things, price things, name things, and start to degendering like items within our brands and things that we name, on our price list? How important do you think it is that we start to move away from that kind of, male and female listing of how we do things?
I think I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into gender, but I do think it is
Go
like
for
it is like I do think it is tired of like labeling someone on their parts, and then I think it's quite cold. It's quite like a negative way of like looking at someone. So I don't really associate with gender in like really that much. In terms of beauty, I do feel like as we're moving as a society, I definitely feel like beauty is taking a way of being more gender inclusive, which I think is a good thing. And I think we will see in the future that it will be one of those things where it was just like, oh, we did that like 50 years ago. Could you believe we did that? Like, if you look back 50 years from now, there's so many things that like are literally like not okay. So it's just one of those things, I think. I don't know, Jack, what do you think? No.
I
Gender
think
is a hot topic for both.
Yeah, well, I don't believe in gender as like a construction anyway, so I find that that's quite something that I have taken on quite a lot in my life anyway. So I try not to look at things with it, but you do find that a lot of ad campaigns are going to be more like beautiful, feminine, white as well, and you do see it hugely, and it's not something that you can ignore, which is something that I've started to pick up on more. But that's why I love brands like Ilamasca, because it is just such an inclusive place. You see everybody, you see disability, you see gender, you see sexuality, you see colour, and it's like you should see it. We need to look at it. We can't don't just not acknowledge it. You know, we need to see it, and it needs to be kind of taken face on and front on. And I think that's why I personally believe that makeup shouldn't have a gender at all. I think it should be something that's very much like open in like construct, you know. And even with the British Beauty Council, only a few weeks ago we were having a huge like chat on Zoom. We were all chatting about gender and construction, and I've had some good experiences working in some really high-end department stores where I've been judged because of how I look. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be judging how I look, you should be judging my work or what I'm doing or how much money I'm making you. You know, and I think that's like a huge part of it, in the sense of that it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be who you are, what you are, where you come from, your religion, any aspect. It should be like, what are you doing now? How are you going to help the business? You know, at the end of the day, it's a business too. And in the British Beauty Council, we were speaking, it was great to have those connections too, because we had people that were from so many different backgrounds, someone that was from, you know, like finance, and someone that was from management, and someone that was from, so I could speak to them and say, you know, like, look, you know, it's great that this happens, but it happened way down here. I'm just on the front line, you know, I'm the one serving the customers and running around, whereas the people right at the top may not necessarily have known that that had happened. Yeah, I've lost my jobs because of it, and I've lost education from it. So I think it's something that we hugely need to take into the future, that makeup is makeup, and like anyone can wear it, and as long as you're having fun doing it, like what does it matter? Where you come from, who you are, your colour, your sexuality, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't define us as who we are.
Absolutely not.
Squeeze behind here.
You've only got a few more minutes left. How close are you to the final look?
We're just gonna snatch the phone.
I don't know, in terms of COVID safety and stuff, if we're allowed to sort of get a closer look, because I expect some of you that are a bit further behind might want to come and have a look. And we might have time for just one more question if anybody wants to throw it out there. There? Oh.
One last question.
So, have you got anything exciting coming up in the pipeline?
Yeah. I'm not allowed to say. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say. I can't talk. Anything coming up in the pipeline? My makeup? Watch the space? Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, with Comet, if we're having fun with it and we're enjoying it, there's people that are going to enjoy. Me and Elliott are never going to stop doing our little series. Working with, you know, friends and other makeup artists is a huge part of that as well. And I think there's so much more that we can all offer as well, which is great. And I think, you know, us two are definitely going to keep with our squishy faces. Anyone wants to get a book, go in and feel free. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think working in the future and keeping going and having fun with it and just kind of enjoying it. But yeah, can't say too much.
And if you push that on your tongue. Everyone?
I snatched this. Huh?
Would some of you like to come and have a look at this in a minute when it's finished?
No pressure.
Thank you so much.
It's okay.
For talking us through the look, and I think it's been so fascinating to listen to your perspectives on beauty, gender, and the future of makeup and makeup artistry.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.